Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the show. This is the Pop Roxx Radio talk show. I'm your host, pop art painter Jamie Roxx, and this is the big show. You found it. I'm glad you did. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about tonight's show. Been off for a couple days, and man, I finally am on the downhill side of this. I got a bad, what I call a summer cold, but it's springtime. I guess it's, I don't know, just one of those, when the pollen hits, seasons change and all that, even though they really don't change that much here in South Florida. Man, I got to tell you, it walked up to me, ladies and gentlemen, and just smacked me in the face like I had insulted its wife or something. No, I'm teasing. But no, I'm sick. But I'm better now. And it wasn't COVID. Oh, my gosh, we had to break into our government-issued COVID test. I was very glad we had them. If you don't have them yet, folks, go to the, I don't know what it is, freegovernmenttest.com.org, something like that. Google it, and they'll send you free ones right in the mail. And not a bad plan. We were certainly glad to have them on hand because you get worried these days, Anyhow, I'm better. Everything's fine. All is well. Thank God, too. I have a big show this weekend, and I had to fight this off before then. I was drinking a lot of NyQuil, ladies and that's not even true. I say that. The reality is for those who listen to the show and whatnot will know, my wife is, I love her to death. She is very strong in herbs and natural remedies and Eastern medicine and all. So honestly, I don't know what the heck I've been taking the last couple days. It tasted terrible. It was horrible. My theory is my body said, okay, we'll get better. Just don't give us any more of that because that is bad, baby. Bad. But I'm, it's nice that somebody cares, and it's nice that, she got me better. I'm not complaining. Anyhow, tonight we have returning guest, one of my favorite people. He's just such a fantastic singer-songwriter, musician, and all-around cool guy. I'd like to welcome back Mr. John 3. John, how are you?
Jamie, it's been a crazy month, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm sure we've got a whole lot to talk about. Got an ice-cold beer, but things are good.
Awesome. Yes, I got the hot cup of coffee right here, and I probably shouldn't be drinking coffee this late, but I don't want to be that person. The other night, I was caught myself saying that. I'm like, it's too late for a cup. I'm like, no, I'm not that old yet. Can't do it. I'm not even thinking that way. That's just negative thinking. Beer sounds pretty good. Beer sounds pretty good. Now,
yes, it does.
Last time you were on, John, you had your latest single, Race Day, one of my favorites. I love it, which was, about your latest passion, hobby, just very cool interest of remote control racing and race cars. Now we're continuing that with this single, right? That theme?
Absolutely. In fact, this song that we'll talk about today, The Ballad of Ricky Chuck, was actually the first song that I wrote in my new RC-themed songs, I guess you'd say. And Race Day that we talked about last time was the second song. It was it was really cool because just the way that how these songs have developed, it just they came about so quickly that now I'm kind of looking at, okay, well, what's the next song? In fact, I've some of my friends in our RC community, they're like, well, why don't you do a song about this or that? And I'm like, cool. So I've got dare I say, I've got like an album's worth of ideas. I don't want to say material yet because I'm sort of in that, pre-songwriting, but I've got an album's worth of ideas, and it's really cool. Like, I'm not rushing this time. Like, in my previous albums, I felt like that, I was like, okay, record, write. And now I'm like kind of taking a step back and going, I want to absorb this. It's kind of like when you paint, you paint,
Absolutely.
but now it's like, I need some ideas. And then you absorb, you observe, and you absorb.
Absolutely. And you kind of get in that zone when you're painting what you want to be painting. I mean, I'm not complaining. 90% of my business is commission work. Maybe 80, 85, but a big chunk of it is. And I love it, and it's great. I've been real good to me. I can't complain at all. But it is nice to have a little bit of time where you can say, you know what, I see this, and this is what I want to do. I want to spend some time on this, and you enjoy it. It's nice. It's a work vacation kind of. It's nice in your work. And it sounds like that's where you're at. You're in that zone, that fun zone kind of.
Well, and it's not just the fun zone. I mean, when I said and I can't remember if I said this off air or not, but the last month has been absolutely nuts. I mean, the first part, actually it was the end of March going into April, I got into a car wreck and just dealing with insurance and collision, the collision center, just dealing with all that. And then it just seemed like that whenever, at that moment when I was taking my RC cars to the track, it kind of, I don't want to use the word relapse, but that's the best word I can come up with at this time. But it was like I was crashing my RC cars, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should kind of take an overview, because I was really glad that I had finished recording this new song, Ballad of Ricky Chuck. I'm glad I'd finished recording that prior to this, and all I had to do at that point was just mix, master, and get the song ready for publication. But all these things have been going on, and it's just, I mean, my phone was blowing up. It was like my insurance, their insurance was just, it was just constant. Something was going on, or I was waiting for a part to come in from an RC car, and that's kind of the irony with this. Right before I got into my car wreck, I was actually heading to Hobbytown to pick up a part because I just wrecked my RC car. So it was funny because when my mom came to pick me up from the wreck, I was like, the only thing on my mind, I was in this dizzy spell and my ears were ringing from the airbag going off, but I still was like, Mom, I still need to go pick up this part for my RC car. Like, that's the only thing that was on my mind at that point. And it was so funny because I wasn't thinking about, am I okay? I was like, Mom, I need to go pick up this part. And I actually am okay.
That's funny.
So everything is working out. I'm waiting for my new, car, my new Honda to come in. So everything's working out. But at that moment, it was just that everything just kind of collapsed on me to where I was like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back, because when you push too hard, that's when bad things can happen.
You do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I'll make dumb mistakes, and sometimes even I'm like, I am terrible. The trope is these painters, they all work it through the night. Maybe most of them do. I am horrible at working at night. I start making mistakes, and and then you just have to fix it go over it later. And I'm like, oh man, this painting's taken me 4 times how long it should take. Are you kidding me? And sometimes I'll just say, no, that's it for today. I'll get up early. I work great when my mind is fresh after the batteries are recharged. I am great.
Yeah.
But hey, back to your accident there. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it was serious.
Yeah.
You said one thing, and I kind of picked up on there. My ears perked up a little bit. You're waiting for your new car to come in. So that means what that's telling me is the car got totaled out, that's pretty serious. That isn't, we got a scratch in the fender here.
Oh yeah.
And airbags.
I mean, it was.
On. Wow.
Oh yeah, it was bad. I mean, this was actually my first car, like my full size car. This was my first wreck in almost 30 years of driving, and somebody pulled out in front of me, and I will never forget what he said. He said, "I thought I could make it because I had a green light, he had a yellow light, and he was turning, and pulled out in front of me." And I was like, "Okay." It was one of those moments where you just kind of brace for impact because you know what's coming, and it's like things go into like slow motion. Exactly. Right. And time slowed down, and all I could think about is I'm going to hit him, and this is going to hurt. Thankfully, I had a couple of bruises. I was a little sore for about a week or so, but I was fine. But I think it was that mental aspect of because I had so many things going on and dealing with all of this, it then, kind of moved itself over into my RC world, which is my fun time. That's my one time of the week where I get to have fun. And the first mistake I made was the wreck happened on a Thursday, and I went out to the track to race on Sunday. And my back was sore, and I wrecked my RC car again. It was just, and at that point I said, you know what? Maybe I need to take a step back because I was still at that point. I was still in the early phases of dealing with, I was still dealing with insurance and collision and everything like that. I thought, okay. So now
and you had your bell rung,
Oh,
that
it was rung pretty good.
People don't realize that,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And it was funny because, like, mentally I was fine. Like, I was going back to work the next day. I was working lessons. I didn't cancel anything. I it's business as usual. But it was right after that all of the insurance and everything was finalized, and got my car ordered. It was at that moment when things started to slow down. Like my mind was still going. And I was like, okay, what? Because, I was in that kind of a defensive mode, right? I was like, okay, now what? Right. But
the trials of Job, I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
I have been there.
So now, yeah, so now it's like, okay, I need to take a step back and kind of just like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you need to take a step back. And that's what I'm kind of doing right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember, it wasn't nearly as bad as what you went through. God, this will tell you how I realized I was getting old. I was in the shower, taking a shower, and I don't know, I slipped or something, and I did this like weird kind of, I went to catch myself, and I did this kind of weird disco move, like when I was trying to stay upright, and which I did. But man, I tell you, the back from my right ankle all the way up my leg, my back, I don't know what I did, but I twisted something. Something went the way it wasn't supposed to go.
Yep.
I was down for like a week and a half, gimping around here, just shuffling around. When you're young. Yeah, I remember I was in a car crash when I was young. I must have been, I don't know, 17, 16, something like that. My friend, I don't know if you can still do this, but you used to be able to buy a Jeep from the government. And it wasn't assembled. It was still in a box. And they had never been assembled. But it was surplus. And, they were old from, I don't know, the 60s or something. You could buy them, though, for like $500. And he had bought one, and we had built it, me and him and a bunch of our friends and stuff. Took us like 6 months to put that thing together. And then we were driving it out. Some lady ran into us on the side, it like hit us hard, flipped the Jeep over on its side. I remember I knocked the rearview mirror off the windscreen thing there with my face. I had like big bruises inside my mouth, like on my gums. It was terrible. And I'll never forget this old grizzled tow truck driver showed up, and we're like, oh, he's like, you boys okay? Yeah, we're okay, And we were young, it didn't matter. And he's like, oh, the good thing about these Jeeps, check this out. He pulled it over back upright, and he goes, let's wait 10 minutes. So we did. And he goes, okay, I'll try to turn it over. And it started right up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like a Tonka truck. But yeah, when you're young, that stuff, you get bounced around, doesn't matter. You get a little older. Oh, baby. Oh, man. And now, folks, a couple quick messages from some of our show sponsors. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the rest of the interview after these quick messages. Listen to this cool episode ad-free. If you're a VIP member, you can become one on my website, www.jamieroxx.us, www.jamieroxx.us.
Metal Babe Mayhem is more than just an online store. It's a destination. MetalBabeMayhem.com carries over 150 rock and roll products, including clothing, jewelry, and accessories. Metal Babe Mayhem also offers shrine clothing and alchemy gothic jewelry. In addition, Metal Babe Mayhem founder Allison Metal Babe Cohen is a rock and roll journalist who supports local and national artists with rockin' reviews, interviews, playlists, networking, and more. Metal Babe Mayhem is taking over the world, one shirt at a time.
My Love Shack Apothecary online shop has everything you need to build a special gift for yourself or someone who needs a little pampering. I hand make all of the products in small batches using only plant-based ingredients and therapeutic-grade essential oils. Whether you choose one of my curated sets or want to build a custom gift set, My Love Shack Apothecary has everything you need to send a little sunshine to someone today. Please visit us online at www.loveshackapothecary.com. That's www.loveshackapothecary.com, as well as online on Instagram and Facebook. Links are in our website.
Support for this podcast comes from the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, ranked one of the top cancer centers in the nation for the last 27 years. The doctors at MD Anderson treat more rare cancers in a single day than many physicians see in a lifetime, and treatment plans are tailored to an individual patient's needs, allowing more comprehensive and thorough care. To become a patient, please visit makingcancerhistory.com.
Aloha. If you have stress in your life or even anxiety and panic, I want to invite you to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast for a way out. The Anxiety Coaches Podcast is a relaxing and inspiring show bringing you lifestyle changes to calm your nervous system and help you heal anxiety, panic, and PTSD for life. We bring you 2 episodes every week. There's no need to walk this path alone. Join us for a relaxing, informative, and inspiring time and start your journey out of anxiety panic. That's anxietycoachespodcast.com. Aloha.
Roxx Gear, the online web shop of high-end luxury merchandise and products, all featuring original pop art paintings. From La Jolla to Miami to London, www.merch.jamieroxx.us.
Well, I'm glad.
True.
And you're right, too. That insurance stuff is a nightmare. It can be, It's like, well, sir, Form 36B wasn't filled out in blue ink. I mean, just drives me crazy thinking about it.
It was nuts. I mean, of course, a lot of this is all computerized now, and my insurance company wanted to get my statement, and their insurance company or his insurance company wanted to get my statement. And what was funny about this is that my insurance company had done a lot of the legwork until the point where his insurance company finally said, okay, we admit fault, we'll take it over. But, since your insurance company has done a lot of the work, it'd be easier for them to just, keep going with it. And when I talked to my insurance agent about that, he said, well, of course he would say that because they want us to do a lot of the legwork. And I'm not going to mention any insurance company names, for the sake of sakes, but it was all of this. I learned so much about insurance and everything like that, and it was an experience. And yeah, exactly. I mean, I just look at how much I paid, and it's like when, right out of the gate, because I knew how bad the damage was in my car. It bent the entire the frame, firewall. If anybody knows anything about cars, my whole front end was done. It was done. Oh, man. So
I'm glad you weren't hurt worse.
Oh no. In fact, I would say Hondas are tough, man. In fact, when at the collision center when we did our walk around, I was like, "Is that the radiator?" He said, "Oh no, that's a reinforced bumper." I'm like, "Yes, I've got a reinforced bumper, baby." That's right. And I tell you, I T-boned the hell out of that guy's car. I mean, I should send you pictures. It did a number on that guy's car. I walked away from it. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But it was nuts.
It is crazy. I tell you, car stuff is crazy. Here in South Florida, we recently had this thing put in called the Bright Line, and it's not like a Japanese bullet train, but it's a high-speed train, and they don't stop at every stop, and they, if you need to go a distance or whatever, that's the one to take quickly, and they use the existing tracks. Well, they have an accident like every other day. Every other day, somebody's getting run over by the train or in their car or whatever, because everybody keeps trying to drive around, the things that come down, those barrier things, the do not, the train's coming. We're trying to keep you alive, people. When those are down, you got to wait. Nobody's waiting. They just keep driving around them and getting hit by. And I'm telling I don't get it. I'm like, that's a big train. You're in a little car. You ain't going to win that fight, Why tempt it? Wait the 30. And it's the high-speed train, so it's not slow. You just, it zips by real quick. Oh, man, but every day it's on the news. Every other day, I should say. I shouldn't say every day, but every other day. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. I don't know, and it's, I'm glad you're okay, and it's,
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that stinks, a little more expensive to fix than the RC stuff, although those aren't cheap either. When you're saying, that's a track crash in the RC, I'm like, oh, no, that's not good.
And here's the thing about the RC. So I had back-to-back crashes at the track with my RC cars, and just like I was telling one of my friends, Michael, I was like, because whenever I would order the parts, I would pay for it in advance over at Hobbytown, and I would text my friend Mike, and I'm like, yeah, well, there's a $25 lesson learned, or that's a $30 lesson learned. But my most recent, and this is where it seemed like a good idea, and I'm sure people have had this happen where things seem like a good idea until you actually experience this. So this was last, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. I had some time off, and I just bought a brand new racing buggy. I mean, this thing is preem. So I took it out to my park. It's about a mile away, and I was like, I'm not going to go full speed. I just want to just get a feel for it, just have some fun, because I hadn't had some fun in weeks, right? I mean, I've been doing all of this stuff. So I'm just driving around the park, and all of a sudden, ding, I hit a metal pole. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not that bad. So I backed it up, and I'm driving it. It's like, kind of like National Lampoon's Vacation. I'm like, so the last 3 times that I've driven my RC cars, I've broken something. That's 3 learning lessons right there. And at that point, I said, I maybe should take a step back and just say, you know what? Maybe a little bit of a break isn't such a bad idea.
Exactly. You know, John, we'd get you a kite to fly, but the problem is, within 2 weeks, you'd want one of them big, giant Chinese kites or something that's, $500 or whatever. That's the problem. I don't want that newspaper thing up there. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Man.
That's exactly where I'm at. That's where I'm at, yeah.
Any of these hobbies, and here's the thing, is we've talked about this before, and I agree with you. It's so important to have a hobby, something to de-stress over that you enjoy, and find your hobby passion. Very important in your, I think, it's so nice to have something. Unfortunately, a lot of us get because we like cool stuff, so it's not the cheapest thing. Oh man, but hey, as long as you found it, that's cool. That's cool. It could be worse. I know guys that collect $10,000 guitars, hang on the wall. Oh man, I have a friend of mine that does. He's into guns. He goes to the range all the time and whatnot. I don't think people realize how expensive some of those higher, like big guns can be. I mean, a lot of money, and a lot of money firing them. They don't give that ammo away. But you got to do what you got to do.
True.
Yeah, you got to find
some of those.
Your
yeah.
stuff.
True. I mean, some of those higher caliber. In fact, one of my friends. I mean, he's got an arsenal. He's one of my friends. Actually, he's one of my brother's friends from high school, and he's got an arsenal. He lives out in the country, and he's got one of those Barrett 50 cals that you see on video games and in movies. I'm sure it'll come to me. A shooter, like in Shooter,
Right.
And he's talking about, he's like, every time that I shoot that thing, that's $5 down the range. Every single bullet, $5. And I'm like, man, that's an expensive hobby.
Oh, I'm telling you,
expensive.
The most expensive thing, and I'm a big car guy, but it wasn't cars so much. And I've known people with a lot of real expensive cars. One day, I was in Las Vegas. This was years ago, many, many years ago. I was at Caesar's Palace, and I'm wandering around, mainly looking for a place to sit down. The thing that's terrible about Las Vegas is you can't sit down anywhere unless you're spending money. You got to rent a chair. They be playing a game or something. And and I discovered this. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a tip for you. If you ever go to Las Vegas or whatever and you want to just sit someplace, find the sports book, where they have all the horse racing monitors and everything, and just sit down and act like you're figuring out your system, and they'll leave you alone. Sit there all day. You don't have to spend any money. But anyway, I got turned around in this casino, and I wound up in a VIP high rollers slot area. And there was a guy. He was, I don't know who he was or where he was from. He was Dubai. I mean, he's from the Middle East. He had the, I don't know the proper term for it. I don't mean to disrespect anybody. I'm ignorant on the proper term. But that, like kind of like a chic outfit, the regalia, the kind of thing with the hat, and all the fabric. And he was playing slots, and he was hitting this button. And, you've seen it a million times in Vegas. And then I realized it was $1,000 machine. Every time you hit that button was $1,000. And he was like, boom, 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 boom. And it was just going. And I'm like, I was standing there in shock, just looking at that much money being spent. I'd never seen anything like that. And the pit boss kind of saw me, and obviously I was not supposed to be in this area. And he came over and he was real cool. He's like, hey, can I get you to where you need to be? And I'm like, is that $1,000? And he's like, yeah. And he's been here 4 hours. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, get me out of here. Get me out of here. Yeah, and he's the one who told me about the sports book. But yeah, can you imagine? Thousands and thousands of dollars. Crazy. I'm glad we don't have that hobby, John. Can you imagine?
Me too. That just, I could not imagine. I mean, okay, could you imagine being in that situation where you had that much money where you're like, I'm going to toss away, kind of like that whole Elon Musk, because he's been in the news lately. Could you imagine being and kind of taking like the Americanized version, people hear about Elon Musk. Could you imagine being somebody of that stature where you're sitting down, like you're looking for, and I'm sure that he was looking for the most expensive slot or whatever that it is, and like, I'm just gonna keep cranking this away, 1,000, every, minute, every 30 seconds, whatever. Like, yeah, I could not fathom, because I've never had. In fact, it's funny because when we talk about somebody like Elon Musk, he's a multi-billionaire. It's like, just imagine being a millionaire, like with an M, just being a millionaire, like, and I'm like, I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be a millionaire versus a billionaire,
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's like so far beyond.
And that's what people, it was crazy with him. They were the big topic this week, of course, with the big trial going on, Amber Heard trial and Johnny Depp, is they're like, well, he paid for this for her. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, he did. It's a couple $1 million. When you're a multi-billionaire, that's like buying a girl a drink at a bar. I mean, that isn't, he didn't toss and turn at night over that decision. When you got that much money, I don't know. Yeah. And again, if I had that much money, John, I couldn't do that. There was no way I could spend it like I just, because I've never had that much. I'd be like, nope.
No.
I'm going to keep all of this. I might buy an RC car.
Yeah. Well,
and
I'm sure that's after, just imagine as a painter, let's say that, let's not even reach the point of billionaire. Let's just say that you and Danny are millionaires, and you've bought the best paintbrushes, the best canvases, the best paint money can buy. It's like, then what? But then you take it to the level of billionaire. You're like, okay, well, I've already spent money on. I've built a brand new studio. Same thing with me and music. I would build a brand new studio with the best equipment, and then after all that, it's like, well, now what do I do with all this money?
That's when you start building hospitals and stuff. Universities.
Yeah, I mean,
the music wing.
I cannot fathom it. I cannot fathom that much, having that much money. Where you've bought all the best of the best that you can. You built the best house. You own all the best, accessories, and then you've given money to charities. It's like, even after all of that, you're like, you still got $100 billion. I'm like, what do I do with this? Do I go to Vegas and hit $1,000 slot? What do I do?
I guess. Exactly. It's crazy. It's just crazy to even think about. And it's so weird that there's people in the world like that. That are, I don't know. I would definitely have a bookshelf that was actually a door into a secret room. I really, really would want one of those. No, I probably wouldn't. The thing is, what's crazy about that is, I don't know, like in your business or whatever, if you're like this, you probably are. I'm like this, definitely. people will notice when prices go up, like with the paintings and stuff like that, and they're like, oh. And everybody always thinks that they're like, oh, he's making a little more money here, you know. And the reality, you hit the nail on the head, though. Yeah, when the prices go up, we get a little more money. I just spend it. I'm like, okay, well, instead of these type of canvases, we're going to buy these nicer type. And I'm still making the same profit margin. You know, that's the terrible part. I need to do it different, but what can you do, you know? What can you do? It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, and you know, and even if you were at that level, you know, where you had the money, where you could buy the nicer, you know, brushes, canvases, paints, and things like that, you know, it's like, are you going to turn out a better product? I mean, and the same thing with me. I mean, sure, I could buy, you know, a $5,000, you know, computer to record with. It's the same software. See, that's the thing for me. Even if I have a Mac, you know, like an iMac, you know, like with decked out, I'm using the same recording program. I'm using the same software, the same interface. I'm using the same guitar. And even if I
more expensive computer.
Yeah, you know, you know, even if I, you know, upgraded to, you know, $3,000 guitars, my music will still sound the same. And I think that is really important for people who are looking to say, well, you know, and I hear it all the time. I'm sure you do too in the painting world. Well, if I just had this. Well, if I just had that, you know, if I just had these painting brushes, if I just had this new guitar, I could just put out some great, you know, material. I'm like, no, it's not going to change you, because if you don't have, you know, if the talents and all that, if you're not, you know, constantly putting material out there, who cares if you have the paint, you know, the best paintbrushes or the best guitars, or it's still going to be the same. And I see this all the time, and it, you know, people are going in debt, I'm sure, you know, buying the best of the best, thinking that all they need to do is buy the best, and that's going to give them the best product or the best result. And I'm like, man, not even close. Not even close.
And now, folks, a couple quick messages from some of our show sponsors. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the rest of the interview after these quick messages. Listen to this cool episode ad-free. If you're a VIP member, you can become one on my website, www.jamieroxx.us. www.jamieroxx.us.
Hey rockers, this is Stacey Lane Wilson, author and editor of the Rock and Roll Nightmares book series. I have a new podcast that features interviews with musicians, artists, authors, filmmakers, and music historians. In Season 1, I interview Phil Soussan from Ozzy Osbourne's band, Scott Crawford, the director of the Cream magazine documentary, Lisa S. Johnson, the award-winning author and photographer of the books 108 Rockstar Guitars and Immortal Axes, just to name a few. The Rock and Roll Nightmares podcast explores the dark and mysterious and sometimes funny side of music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Enjoy on RSS or anywhere you like to listen to podcasts.
Glittering amethyst, energizing citrine, colorful fluorite, the other side of the sun, Earth's treasures brought to light. Since 1999, we have offered a unique collection of hand-selected minerals and gems for every budget, for novices, collectors, and healers. Visit www.tosots.com to view our wide selection of offerings and use coupon code ROXX, that's ROXX, for 10% off your first order. Remember, TOSOTS.com, Earth's treasures brought to light.
Hi, folks. Jamie Roxx here. Hey, if you're a big fan of cool historical books like me, then you're going to want to check out our newest show sponsor, Michelle Albion. Fantastic author. She's got some really interesting, cool books out that you're going to want to check out. I'm a big fan of all of these. The Florida Life of Thomas Edison, The Quotable Edison, Quotable Henry Ford, Quotable Eleanor Roosevelt, and, of course, The Quotable Amelia Earhart. Michelle's just very keen and very, very cool. And these are just very cool books. So check out her website. There's links to where you can pick these up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, all over the place. MichelleAlbion.com. 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 Very, very cool stuff. Check it out, folks. The big fantasy in my world is, I will admit, I can't believe I'm going to admit it on the air, but I will. I'm getting to a point where I'm kind of getting burned out a little bit on social media. And I post a lot. But it's to a point where it's like, the fantasy is, wouldn't it be nice to find, some 18-year-old girl with a cell phone to do all this, you know what I mean? I give her a list at the beginning of the week and say, hey, go at it. You're Jamie Roxx for the week, Enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is with that, and people are like, well, Jamie, you could probably afford it. You could probably put somebody part-time doing that. And I'm like, man, I do not want to add another mouth to feed. That's the problem. So it's real easy to start adding employees and stuff like that, but you got to take care of them then, I just can't be, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge. I got to, it's a character flaw. I'm a nice guy. But, that's probably why I won't be a billionaire. Anyway. So I wanted to ask you, John, we have links up, ladies and gentlemen, on our show page and everywhere to John's website, john3music.com. It's a fantastic website. Also, his Facebook and Instagram we have links to. John's very good at social media. He's on that probably more than I am. He is really good at that. And I think it's important. But I wanted to ask you, so with this track, and you mentioned this earlier, this is not the second single in this vein. This is the first single, but you released the second single first, if that makes any... you're kind of like Quentin Tarantino. You're mixing up the timeline, which is cool.
Yeah.
And artsy. Was there a reason for that, or is it just the way it kind of happened?
That's the way it happened, because when I first got this whole RC theme music going on, that's when, in fact, I was talking to my friends in our Facebook RC, our local RC community. I just tossed out the idea, hey, I'm getting, kind of these ideas of coming up with some RC theme music. And, that's when Ricky spoke out, and he was like, Ricky's a great guy. And he spoke out and he said, I wish somebody would write a song about me. Well, it was at that moment. It was within the next couple of days. It might have been that day for all I remember. But I just remember writing the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, which at that point it was just Ricky Chuck. But, for me, adding that title, the Ballad of, anytime that you think of a ballad, it's like there's a story behind that. We can get into that, at some point. But that was the first song that I came up with. And then Race Day, which I talked about, or what we talked about last time, was the first song that I officially released, even though that I had written, I had not recorded, but I had written the Ballad of Ricky Chuck. So even though that I had written that song first, it was Race Day, because Race Day was the one that I kind of had in my mind that once I had written it, this is the song that I'm going to record now. And it was after that song took off and people were like, man, this is really cool. You're doing something different as far as theme goes, that then I said, well, maybe I should then officially record, because I had not done it yet, to then officially record the Ballad of Ricky Chuck. So that's when I did that second. And I don't know. I can't remember if it's Quentin Tarantino. I can't remember who did. Oh man, I was just about to say the movies when you said movies that did first, like the first one came second one came first. I guess, and today is officially Star Wars Day. So if you think
That's
about
right,
it.
It was the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they did, episodes 4, 5, and 6 first. And then, in the 2000s or 1990s, they did, 1, 2, and 3. Kill Bill, that was what I was thinking of. I can't remember if that was Quentin Tarantino or not, but, how they did Kill Bill 2 and then they did Kill Bill 1. But the same thing applies to Star Wars. They did 4, 5, and 6 first. And then they did 1, 2, and 3. And which in fact, as soon as we're done here, it's Star Wars Day. So what am I going to do? I'm going to watch Return of the Jedi. I can't remember whatever the first one is. But yeah, I'm going to watch episode number 4.
The New Hope.
Celebrate. New Hope. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, after we're done here, I'm going to turn on and watch a little Star Wars. Star Wars Day. So
nice.
Yeah, I think that's how it happens. But you just kind of, and I think that when with music and painting, whatever that a person's into, you have to let it grow organically, and that's how it did with Ricky Chuck. Really, with a lot of my songs, I let them go and grow organically, especially in the studio.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Yeah, I put on when I had my dinner earlier. I'm like, let's watch a little Star. I've never been a giant Star Wars nut. My wife in our family is the Star Wars nut. I've always been a little more Star Trek, but we make it work. Nobody's perfect. But I got to tell you, I was watching that Mandalorian. Was it the Mandalorian? Yeah, where the finale. I don't want to give anything away for anybody who hasn't. I don't know. If you don't know this or whatever, that season 2 finale, man, brought me right back to when I was like 8 years old at watching Star Wars in the movie. I was that excited again. I was like, wow. I didn't think those programs were still in the old computer, but they were. Yeah, Star Wars was cool, man. When that first came out, when I first saw Star Wars, my mind was blown. That and Lord of the Rings. Oh my gosh, how cool! How cool! That's crazy. Yeah, so I hear you, man. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
That's right. Sometimes you need it to avoid those metal poles. Oh my! I'm teasing you. Let's play the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, and then we'll get into it, like who Ricky Chuck is and all that. Here it is, folks. Check this out, John 3, the Ballad of Ricky Chuck. back, ladies and gentlemen. That was the Ballad of Ricky Chuck by John 3. Now, John, I believe we spoke to Ricky Chuck last time you were on the show, right?
Absolutely. And, yeah, Ricky was the, obviously, because, he was the one who mentioned when I had posted in our RC Facebook page, that, hey, I was thinking about writing an RC-themed song, and that's when he spoke up and said, I wish somebody would write a song about me. And when I did Race Day was kind of like a Southern rock thing, because I'm getting into that. But when I did Ricky Chuck, like my initial plan was for it to be a blues song, like a blues rock, that's people do that. But and that's
especially
when,
Texas guys,
Oh yeah.
That's kind of that,
Oh, absolutely. And that's when going back to Texas Snow, I mean, that is very Texas blues. That's Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, he's crowned, king of, Texas blues around here, kind of a ZZ Top kind of feel, same thing. So, and I had mentioned this earlier that a lot of my music, when I go from writing it to recording it, I really let this organic feel come about so that when I went to record Ballad of Ricky Chuck, my initial thought was, okay, so when I recorded the drums and the rhythm guitars, it was very blues driven. I'm like, cool, okay. But it felt kind of empty. I was like, it needs something, it needs something. So I was thinking, well, let's do sort of a rockabilly sound, maybe like a Chuck Berry. So I went back on the choruses and I recorded these kind of Chuck Berry guitar riffs. I'm like, oh man, and I was feeling it. I was really feeling it at that point. I was like, okay, well, let's try adding another riff, sort of like a Beach Boys surf rock kind of feel, but it still flowed along. It still went along the same lines as that Chuck Berry, and it all came together. And then when I recorded the piano, I went over the top because I was like, well, let's add sort of like a 1960s jazz sound. So I did these really kind of jazzy chords.
Nice.
So when you listen to it, so when you listen to it, you get these elements of blues and rockabilly and surf rock and, 60s like cool jazz. So you get all these elements and just think of these as different flavors and they all fit. That's the thing is I was able to make them all fit to where you go, just imagine going to a restaurant and they add all these flavors and then you eat it for the first time. You're like, oh my goodness, this just tastes so good. Well, it's like the same with Ballad of Ricky Chuck. You get all these flavors going on. You're like, this is cool, and that's how it happens.
Right. That's awesome. It is so nice when it all comes together like that. When it all, from concept to execution, there's no better feeling as a creative person, when you can do it. You're like, here it is. And, and the cool thing is when anybody else hears it or sees it or whatever it is you are doing, and they see it too. They're like, oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's a great feeling. That is so cool. Well, I think that works, Now, the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, we were supposed to have John on Monday. And, he released the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, I believe, on Monday. And I got sick, so we had to move the show to today. So I messed everything up. But it is out, right? People can find it now.
Oh, yeah. It's out on all the streaming platforms, so wherever that you're at, all you have to do is just keyword search John, John, and the number 3, and that'll pull up my artist profile, and it's the first song because it's my latest release, so it will be the first song that pops up is Ballad of Ricky Chuck. And it's funny because a lot of people who've listened to it have commented that they're like, wow, that sounds like, surf rock. It sounds like, I feel like that I'm on the beach, and it sounds like the Beach Boys. And the funny thing about this is because when I was young, when I was little, 10, 11, 12, the Beach Boys was my favorite band. So I'm not surprised at all that the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, if somebody says to me, man, that sounds like the Beach Boys, I say, you know what? Because, that's the idea, that subconsciously it came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. It's in there. It's in there. It's in the mix. Well, and I think you describe it so well, perfectly, with it akin to a great meal, a great dish. I think people can get that. They can understand that so well because everybody's had that experience. You're like, well, that shouldn't work at all. Why is your peanut butter in my chocolate? But it works. That was amazing.
Yep. It is, and it is, yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Speaking of Reese's Cups, I was at the store the other day. I was with my wife, and I looked over, and they're, because they're all trying desperately to make, they have weird potato chips now, and all this kind of stuff. And I saw the Reese's Cup. They'll never be an advertiser now after I call them out on this. But they had taken the chocolate out, and it was like, well, we just have, it's peanut butter surrounded on, I'm like, isn't that just a lump of peanut butter? What the hell is that in a shape? That's not creative. Come on. Who is buying that? I guess peanut butter fans. I don't know. I didn't buy it. Anyway, I will buy the Ballad of Ricky Chuck, though.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Sometimes it's just overthought. You see weird products. I do all the time. I'm like, what are they thinking? That's just not, But they're gambling, I guess. They think somebody's going to buy it. Anywho. Well, that's phenomenal. So are the gears turning for the next single?
Well, yeah. I mean, they are turning. And I think with everything that's been going on, I am taking a step back because, as I've learned before, that if you push too hard, things just do not work out. And I noticed this when I would record one album, I would release it, then I would immediately go back into the studio and start writing and recording new songs. And I never let myself get the opportunity to just absorb, It's sort of like, and I'll use, with painting, you painted this great painting. Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and say it now, I am very much looking forward to that Slash painting. Let the audience know that you are painting me one of my favorite guitarists, Slash. I'm really looking forward to that. But you do. You reach a point. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I cannot wait to hang that on the wall. And just to have my students, because then my students can see. They're like, who's that? They're like, 10, 12, 13, they're like, who's that? I'm like, dude, that is one of the best guitarists, right now. That's Slash. Like, who's Slash? And that will open up the door to explain to them who Slash is and why I really appreciate Slash, because a lot of my style, a lot of my writing has come from Slash. But yeah, you have to reach a point where if you keep pushing yourself, eventually you'll have to take a step back and say, okay, I need to absorb, I need to appreciate what I've done, and just give your time, give your body, give your soul a chance to just rest. And say, okay,
right,
what's coming up?
No,
I know there's going to be more songs to record. I know there are. It's just because I'm, as my friend Vadim said, I am a recording machine. It's just a matter of time, but you have to let it happen organically.
Oh, absolutely. And then the thing is it will come off. Your painting will come off looking contrived, like you're trying too hard, and it's the same with music. I've heard tracks like that. I've heard tracks from pretty big names. And I'm like, had a deadline to meet. Well, you can just hear it. You can hear it in there. And not that it's lower quality or anything. It just is. I don't know how to describe it. You can hear it. It's crazy. Your stuff, I don't ever hear that though with, because you do take time. I know you say you're like, I was recording, but it doesn't come off that way. It comes off very cool. Big fan.
Fan. Well, and all I have to do is look at the Metallica's Justice for All album that came out in 86, 87, and they kept pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to meet their deadline, and then they started running out of money, and it's like, okay, now we have to put out this subpar product, which then they in the last couple of years they remastered, and it sounds good, but I think that that's a good example of somebody who has pushed themselves beyond measure to the point to where then they put out, which in my opinion was, as far as quality wise, was a subpar product. Although I love the songs, One and not Master Post, but One is the one that really stands out to me, Justice for All. But yeah, if you keep pushing, you're going to put out a subpar product. When I go out on the track, if I'm not in that frame of mind, I'm going to crash. Why? Because I've done it twice, and then I ran into a pole. So you have to know when is the right time to approach these things. Back.
Yeah.
And you'll feel it. Yeah. And
absolutely.
To me, you just feel it. Where you're at the point where you say, I'm starting to get that little nudge, where it's like, I want to go write a new song. Hey, I want to go out to the racetrack, or I want to paint, whatever it is. You get that little nudge, that little tap saying, I think I'm ready.
Now,
however long it takes,
absolutely.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. It happens to me all the time, man. All the time. Yeah. Hey, and speaking of time, John, this always happens every time you come on the show. Every time. I always have so much fun, and it's just so laid back and so cool. But it goes by too quick. I literally would say we've been talking, kind of BSing, shooting the breeze, for about 15 minutes. Nope. It's been an hour.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
That fast?
Crazy. Crazy. Well, folks, again, get over to John3music.com, and John3music on Facebook and Instagram as well. Like and share John's work and check it out. His website's very, very cool. And also, if you were looking to take some lessons and whatnot, he also does music lessons. So, hey, how about that? Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
And if there are people, if any of your fans, listeners, say, I would like to take lessons, and this has happened, where people are, not local. If they're like, hey,
right.
I'd like to learn to play guitar. Can you teach me? And well, I live in, Albuquerque, New Mexico, whatever. I also do online lessons. So just letting everybody know that if people are interested in my music and interested in what I do, and they do want to take lessons, I do remote online lessons, through either Zoom or Google Meet. So that is available.
Awesome. That's phenomenal. Well, very, very cool. Well, and everybody, hey, maybe learning an instrument or getting better or whatever, maybe that's, your particular passion or hobby. Everybody needs one, like we've been talking. And this is a good way to do that. Ladies and gentlemen. Very, very cool. Well, John, I had so much fun today. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm a big fan, and I just love your work. But let's not wait. Don't think that you can't come back on the show just because, if you haven't released a single or something. I love having you on, and so does the audience, too. Our ratings are always great whenever you're on, and that's always a good thing. The advertisers love it. It keeps us on another month, which is a good thing. Very
absolutely. Good. I will be on anytime you want, and I don't know when the next time I'll be recording a new single, but I guarantee you that you will be the first one or one of the first ones to know about it. I can promise you that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, I should say. We will be back tomorrow. We've got international DJ on tomorrow. Sydney Blue out of Toronto, Ontario, Toronto, Canada, coming on tomorrow. She's got a brand new album, just won the Juno Award. That's a big deal in Canada there. Big deal anywhere, but especially in Canada, for Top Electronic Music album. And I believe she's going to be, I will have to find out. I'll ask her tomorrow. I know that the big festival in Detroit is happening later this month. I can't think of the name of it. It's the Out Festival. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, I will know by tomorrow. It's on the tip of my tongue. I hate when that happens. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Tune in tomorrow. Electronic music's your bag, baby. And, of course, we've been getting a lot of emails. Speaking of, DJs and that kind of stuff. Our monthly Hot Topics, Monday Rocks Hot Topics show. It's a podcast we do once a month, it's specifically about nightclubs and DJ culture and all that. We're actually doing 2 of those this month. So got one coming up on Monday and then another in a couple weeks as well. So we're back at it. I've got a big announcement. We're going to be doing another monthly show coming up. And all I'm going to say right now is, because we're still getting everything situated with that, is it will be a true crime-based podcast once a month with some I will have 2 co-hosts for that, pretty hard-hitting doctorate and college professors going to be co-hosting that with me, criminologists, and that's going to be fun and interesting. So stay tuned for that. We'll be making that announcement later this month when all of our T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And we're going to have John 3 back. We're going to have him back. We always have John 3 on, and there's a reason for that, because I always have a good time whenever he's on. And so, and I hope he does. He's probably going to be like, Jamie, I'm busy, man. Come on, man. Anyway, John, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be on. I really appreciate it. You rock. You're cool, turned up to 10, man.
Man, Jamie, as always, I love being on your show, and thank you again for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Always, man. Always. I appreciate it. Folks, this episode will be converted to a podcast. We're going to be pushing it out on all the social media platforms and on all the podcasting platforms. We're on close to 600 of them. So wherever you listen to podcasts at or stream podcasts, download them, whatever you do with podcasts, chances are we're on there. We appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
This has been pop art painter Jamie Roxx's PopRoxx Radio Talk Show. It has been executive produced by Jamie Roxx, recorded at his studio in Deerfield Beach in South Florida. All rights reserved by PopRoxx Limited for broadcast on Blog Talk Radio.
Tana Oli, Pop Roxx Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de PopRoxx Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hicks från Sverige och ni lyssnar till PopRoxx Radio med Jamie Roxx.
Blog Talk Radio.